Londoners are no stranger to a thick fog, Hugo, but this is no regular weather phenomenon. Shall I recap? First, the fog lifted and we could see the moon. Its natural procession halted, with that unnatural violet hue. Well, it's no mystery why Her Majesty chose to enlist my aid. I am, after all, the brightest technological mind of our era. Yes, thank you, Hugo. I believe we'll find the answers in the skies above London. Take a look at the etherioscope. These radiation readings, well, I don't know what to make of them. If the equipment is functioning properly, it shouldn't be possible. Unless... The engines must have been damaged in the storm. Fortunately, my armor kept me safe, but we'll need to make some repairs.
Burn the heretics.
Hugo, I believe these locals intend to do us harm. Kindly relay a missive to the Syndicate dispatch. We may need some assistance.
Miss Molly, it looks like you have correspondence. Must be urgent to reach you here.
I won't be needing that room tonight, Eustace. I'm off to help an old friend.
Emerging from the wood's darkest recesses, you spy a caravan in a clearing. Close by are a tent and a table, but the site is deserted. A warm campfire suggests that someone was recently here, though you have no desire to wait for them in a forest full of predators. The inside is a chaotic mess, books and knickknacks scattered everywhere. You pocket a lone item from the shelf to your right and move on. You see a pillar of smoke and follow it to a small farm where the starling rests in a field. Despite signs of a struggle, it looks like lights are on inside. You climb the gangplank and find Griswold inside, ratcheting a leaking pipe. He looks relieved to see you and invites you to join him at a table covered in maps and scientific charts.
She'd make a fine barn, Griswold.
The Starling's engines took a beating in the storm, but she'll fly again. I just need the right parts.
The two of you seem to have your hands full. What exactly does Her Majesty need from me?
Our engines need replacement parts. Not something you can pick up in the Haypenny shop, but I'm sure you'll manage. Hugo and I need to stay here and finish repairs.
Is that all?
I'm certain the lunatics who accosted us outside were motivated by some external force. If you're able, find out what it is and put a stop to it.
A carrier pigeon delivered a message to the Starling. Bloodthirsty faces in the night forced me to take refuge in the old town well. If this message reaches you, I can only survive here a few more days. Please help. You find some ruins off the forest path and a well next to an archway. The only things moving before you are the swaying bucket above the well and the eddying leaves within the archway. Curiosity and tension gnaw at your mind. In the dim light, you see only stone blocks split by growing vegetation. Then you spy something glittering in the moonlight. You pick it up before the sound of the bucket crashing down the well makes you jump. You steal into the night before the sound can attract anything from the wood. A carrier pigeon delivered a message. The farmers north of the forest are You come across a travelling fiddler camping by the roadside. He takes notice as you pass but continues his song. It whispers of a terrible gang of highwaymen who terrorised the forest long ago. One of the leaders, Old Tom, was a murderous sort and was hanged at the top of the hill. The melody continues as you learn about his dying words. I am the devil's son, and when I return I'll bring this land to ruin. You come upon a small farm, encircled by a strip of scorched earth. Within lies a dead cow, ritualistically disemboweled. Its eyes glow faintly. Tendrils of purple lichen spew from the belly of the cow like snakes fleeing a fire. As you approach, the animal appears to still be moving, despite its tortured state. You think to put it out of its misery. A Roma woman sits cross-legged before a small campfire along the roadside. Though she is old, her eyes are quick and bright. Anselina Something evil haunts the trees. At the edge of the woods, you come upon a faded, ivy-choked manor. The eccentric scholar, Dr. Crowthorne, invites you inside. The branches overhead cast long and warped shadows in the pale moonlight. A long dead tree, blackened by fire, seems oddly out of place. Though the branch is plainly bare, it casts a shadow of a hanging noose. The rope seems to sway. A Roma woman sits cross-legged before a small campfire along the roadside. Though she is old, her eyes are quick. You triumphed over the highwayman, at least for now. The shadows are a bit dimmer and the air sweeter. The roads once... A logging camp in the woods has gone silent, and a rancid wind now wafts from that direction. The workers' loved ones are calling for someone to investigate and uncover the loggers' fate. A Roma woman sits cross-legged before a small campfire along the roadside. Though she is old, the overgrown remains of a logging camp sit abandoned in a broad clearing. You soon notice a glowing lantern in the window of one of the shacks. You step into a clearing brightly lit by the looming moon. A small field to your left is lit by a crackling campfire. You know better than to loiter in the woods, but you would like to bask in at least one of these light sources for luck. A cabin in the distance also piques your curiosity. The fire washes away the chills of the woods. Mankind's forebears sought comfort from flames just like these. You depart feeling emboldened. This barn has faded to a uniform grey. The doors askew, the roof collapsed. The structure hasn't been used in quite some time. An unseen shutter bangs against a jamb. A deep hush pervades the tumble-down roadside inn, with a At the edge of the woods, you come upon a faded, ivy-choked manor. The eccentric scholar, Dr. Crow. You follow a river to an old sawmill. Hastily made barriers and spiked palisades slow your approach, suggesting it was used as some sort of redoubt. Multiple enthralled are impaled on the barricades, but the camp is now quiet. The dirt path continues up the hill. You pry the boards from the door and call out, hoping someone may have taken refuge within. But from the dim light of the shack's interior rise the glowing eyes of more enthralled, who race towards you in a primal rage. In a clearing at the edge of the path, a crude wooden effigy, a wicker man, stands unfinished. With the approach of the spreading lichen, the workers never had the chance to light it. The corrupted bodies of several workers are caged within. Perhaps they hoped this sacrifice would protect them. You set the wretched thing ablaze with a torch, covering your mouth with your sleeve as the flames consume it. Perhaps the deed will bring some measure of comfort to the souls who died. With the woodsmen laid to rest, you return to their families. They are heartbroken, but grateful to have closure. You warn them not to stray far from home until this chaos has passed. You've intercepted a missive from a local constabulary to Scotland Yard. A few officers went missing while on patrol near Blackwell Marsh, and the locals seem to be growing restless. Something flickers underfoot, casting outsized shadows that skip and dance by its feeble light. It's a broken lantern among the weeds, its flame guttering but still lit. Alongside the abandoned lantern, you find a boot half stuck in the mud. You suspect it belongs to one of the missing constables. The overgrown remains of a logging camp sit abandoned in a broad clearing. You soon notice a glowing lantern in the window of one of the shacks. Ahead, you spot a faint blue light, like some eldritch lamp floating through the swamp, its swaying motion too regular for marsh gas. Whatever it is, it mirrors your steps as you walk, but the dense brush conceals whoever carries it through the gloam. You hear a faint sound on the wind, like children playing. Casting around for the source, it seems to come first from in front, then behind. Without warning, the light blinks out. You wait in the darkness for your eyes to adjust and discover something stuck in the mud at your feet. A deep hush pervades the tumble-down roadside inn, where the patrons stare silently into their cups as the fire struggles against the damp. The innkeeper, Eustace Bell, At the edge of the woods, you come upon a faded, ivy-choked man. You spy something in a fetid pond, which you first take for a hump of rags. A pale woman floats face down at the edge, dress billowing in the still water, hair drifting in a lank fan around her head. The body slips beneath the surface as you approach. For a moment the night is still. Then a writhing mass of black tentacles bursts up out of the water. The wretched creature falls limp at the side of the pond. As the murky water settles, you can now make out a pile of bones and rags, all that remains of its victims. While the night seems calm, you wonder what other beasts may still lurk nearby.
Have you had any success with the repairs?
I've just replaced the centrifugal, Governor, so the starlings should be skyworthy once more. And not a moment too soon. The moon's radiation is growing stronger.
The forests are quaint, but I would welcome a change of scenery.
That's an important reminder. Thank you. The starlings' facilities are still damaged. With more salvage, perhaps we can clear some space for needed allies along the way.
A family in Epping Wake believes their daughter has been replaced by a changeling. They say the young girl in their house is in fact one of the Fae. Her laughter uncanny, her gaze still and unnerving. She speaks no more, but only titters madly. You offer to search for their child in the woods. The lichen is spreading wildly here. You observe it pulsing faintly, like ripples in a pond. The ripples have a rhythm, all leading northeast towards Hangman's Hill. A Roma woman sits cross-legged before a small campfire along the roadside. Though she is old, her eyes are quick and bright. Anselina waves you over to share the warmth. She will also share her guidance and wisdom for a price. A deep hush fades the tumble-down roadside inn, where the patrons stare silently into their cups as the fire struggles against the damp. The innkeeper, Eustace Bell, You stop to rest by an oak tree, and your sleep is disturbed by a vision. You stand before a stone table, upon which rest 3 swaddled infants. One is blanketed in white linen with a lilac pattern. The second is wrapped in muslin with bluebirds. The third is swaddled in green cloth, embroidered with tiny shepherds. Black water is rising at your feet, and you know you must choose one of them to save. You reach for the bundle with the bluebird pattern before the rising water swallows everything in sight. Upon waking, you realize there's nothing in your hands. You return the girl to her parents. As you enter the home, the thing masquerading as their daughter confronts you. With a face disfigured and pale, it declares, "You wretched people have only doomed yourselves." The family cowers and awaits your decision. The creature gradually begins to change form, melting into the shape of a weasel with scaly black wings. With the changeling banished, the family is happy to be reunited. The girl flashes an odd smile and waves goodbye as you take your leave. Beneath the light of the crimson moon, Epping Forest seems corrupted somehow. The trees are twisted into unnatural shapes, and you feel as if you're being observed by a lurking evil. The path you are following has come to an end. You'll have to retrace your steps. The dead trees lean close, hemming you in, the overlapping branches obscuring the moon's light. The path you were following fades into a thicket of sharp thorns, forcing you to turn back. You're left with no choice but to retrace your steps. The atmosphere grows still more oppressive, and you find yourself panting for breath. You're losing time, and with it, any hope of making it out of this place alive. The overgrown remains of a logging camp sit abandoned in a broad clearing. You soon notice a glowing lantern in the window of one of the shacks. Perhaps it's not entirely abandoned after all. Overgrown remains of a logging camp sit abandoned in a... A Roma woman sits cross-legged before a small campfire along the roadside. Though she is old, her eyes are quick and bright. Anselina waves you over. You can barely believe your eyes. A swatch of moonlight seems to mark out the forest path. you step out of the shadows and back onto the well-travelled road. As the darkness dissipates in the moonlight, you emerge from the woods, thankful that tonight won't be your last in this world. Nobody wants to be lost in the woods, even under normal circumstances, and the endless night made matters much worse. You can only hope that you won't lose your way again. A ghostly figure is stalking the Epping Forest paths. The locals are terrified, evoking ancient tales of Herne the Hunter and the Wild Hunt. Myth or menace, it's your duty to investigate. At the edge of the woods, you come upon a faded, ivy-choked manor. A Roma woman sits cross-legged before a small campfire along the roadside. You pass through a hamlet, barely a few houses at the roadside, and overhear a conversation within. "We need to stay inside, Mar. Our neighbours are losing their damned minds." The man sounds nervous as he consoles his mother. "The moon will pass soon, and when it does, all will be right, I promise." A chill wind passes you by as you stop to eavesdrop. The man, now concerned, says, "Mar, how long have you had this rash?" You continue on. A gap in the undergrowth, a recently snapped twig, and flattened grass suggests an animal has passed this way. Perhaps a deer. Perhaps you part a hanging mass of ivy to reveal a moonlit glade. There stands a majestic white stag, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Walking away, it pauses to glance back, as if inviting you to follow. It fades from sight like an apparition as it reaches the line of trees, but your attention is drawn to something in the grass. Someone marked the trail here long ago, blazing a yew tree with a crude symbol, a broken longbow. At the foot of the tree is a small collection of objects, perhaps offerings left by travellers. You search your bag and choose a small item to leave with the other trinkets. The woods are no less ominous, but you feel slightly more at ease. You come upon a pile of skulls, stacked up like a high stone cairn. The mist thins and a figure is revealed. He carries an axe made of bone, a stag's skull atop his shoulders in place of a man's head, its eyes aglow with hellfire. Herne the Hunter is here, and you are his prey. Instead of fleeing as the monster might expect, you stand your ground, the initial moment of terror wrestling with your newfound resolve. The phantom hunter disappears, leaving behind only rags and the decaying stag skull. You smash the skull and burn the rags, praying that his presence has been banished for good. A dark road cuts through the forest to Hangman's Hill, illuminated by the spectral glow of the whispering lichen. It seems to be spreading from here, and you strongly suspect you're close to discovering the source. A Roma woman. It's cross-legged. In a secluded hollow, you discover a small brick cottage. The windows are all boarded over, but a trickle of smoke rises from the chimney. A soft voice calls from behind the door. "Don't look like you have the whisper yet. You shouldn't be here, it's not safe. Old Tom is watching." What can you tell me about old Tom? A weathered face appears at a crack in the window. "Have you heard of Hangman's Hill? As the legend goes, Tom King was hanged for a highwayman ages back. He's been haunting the place ever since." Then what about the whisper, as you call it? "I reckon it's down to that damned moon somehow. Anyway, I wish you luck." He steps back into the shadows. A deep hush fades the tumble-down roadside inn, where the patrons stare silently into You follow the lichen's sickly glow up a steep and rocky path. Arriving at the top of Hangman's Hill, you find a sprawling oak tree with a rusty gibbet cage dangling from the sturdiest branch. Within is the corpse of old Tom. He raises a bony finger towards you, and a malodorous wind rattles the tree. The corruption must be stopped at all costs. You stand your ground. Whatever happens, you mustn't let your guard down, lest you shed this mortal coil prematurely. The rusty cage crashes open, spilling the remains of old Tom onto the ground. The whispering lichen's glow dims to nothing, and with its unholy source defeated, it begins to wither. Ridding the forest of this deadly curse should bring relief to the villagers nearby, but the moon's glow is stronger than ever.